Keep your damn mouth shut, Maya. The dining room fell into stunned silence, just as his open hand cracked hard against Maya Williams' cheek. The force sent her reeling. She stumbled backward, crashing into the edge of the table behind her. Her hand grasped for balance, but only caught the linen tablecloth. It yanked with her fall, bringing with it 2 crystal wineglasses, a rack of lamb, whipped mashed potatoes, and a silver platter of roasted asparagus. They hit the floor with a crash. Food splattered across the tiles and all over Mia's uniform. Gasps rippled through the elegant dining room. One guest laughed aloud. Another whispered, "Serves her right. Probably stole something." Mia lay sprawled on the floor, half covered in food and linen, her face burning from the slap and the humiliation. But Gregory Langston wasn't finished. He bent down, grabbed her roughly by the arm, and yanked her to her feet. The muscles in her shoulders screamed as he dragged her across the restaurant straight toward the swinging doors that led to the kitchen. Silverware still clinked on the floor behind her. "Let everyone see this," he barked loud enough for the entire room to hear. "This is what we do to thieves in my house." Servers stopped mid-step. Cooks peered through the kitchen doors. One older gentleman clutched his napkin so tightly it tore. A young couple glanced at each other, visibly disturbed, but no one stepped in. No one said a word. Maya's feet barely touched the floor as Langston shoved her against the steel counter near the pass line. "You think I wouldn't notice?" he growled, eyes wild, rare white truffles gone. "Do you know how much those cost? You think a woman like you can just take from a place like this?" Her lips parted, trembling. "I didn't take anything, sir. I would never." "Shut up," he barked again, his breath reeking of whiskey. "You think just because you wear a clean apron and smile for the guests, you're not still what you are?" There it was. Not just rage, not just ego, but something old. Something rotten. Something she'd seen before in eyes that looked down on women like her. In mouths that spat girl instead of her name, in fists that hit because they could. She stood frozen, shame and disbelief thick in her throat as everyone watched. Some laughed, some looked away, no one moved. If Maya's courage moved you, give this video a like to show your support, and drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from. BUP Stories. Who knows, someone near you might be watching, too. Later that night, after the guests had gone and the chaos had been wiped from the floors, but not from memory, Maya sat alone in the break room. Her cheeks still throbbed. Her apron, even after a rinse, bore stains of lamb gravy and humiliation. But she didn't cry. Instead, she opened her phone, pulled up the private folder she kept hidden under a boring file name, Inventory Logs. There it was, footage. She'd installed a tiny button camera on her apron a week ago after growing suspicious of payroll tampering. What she caught by accident tonight was far more powerful. She rewound the footage. There in high definition, Gregory Langston himself was seen on the service camera pocketing a small bag from the walk-in refrigerator. She zoomed in. The bag had a truffle emblem. It wasn't Maya's hand. It was his. And that changed everything. She copied the footage to a secure drive and uploaded it to the cloud. Then she picked up the battered spiral notebook she kept in her purse. She turned to a new page and wrote in all caps, "A slap doesn't erase a lie." The next morning, she walked into a lawyer's office downtown with the footage, her employment file, and the bruises still visible on her cheek. The young attorney blinked as he watched the video. This could go national," he said. "I'm not trying to be famous," Maya replied quietly. "I just want the truth seen. I want him to pay for what he did." She filed a formal complaint, then a lawsuit for assault, defamation, and wrongful accusation. Word spread quickly. By week's end, headlines rolled across local news. Savannah billionaire accused of assaulting employee caught on video. Some said she was brave. Others said she was stirring up trouble. But Maya didn't care because for the first time in her life, she hadn't walked away. She hadn't stayed quiet. And that was just the beginning. Mia sat at the bus stop bench on Abercorn Street. Her hands clasped around a lukewarm cup of coffee she barely remembered buying. The morning traffic buzzed around her, and the weight of what she'd done the night before pressed down harder than the bruises on her cheek. The lawsuit was filed. The video was public. She was now the woman who stood up to Gregory Langston. And in Savannah, Georgia, a city of ghosts, grace, and long memories that meant something, her phone pinged again. Messages poured in. A few friends checking in, others asking cautiously if the news was real. Her cousin in North Carolina had already shared the article on Facebook. Billionaire assaults employee in front of witnesses. She fights back. Maya didn't respond. Not yet. She took a sip of the bitter coffee and looked up at the sky, pale gray, heavy with southern humidity. Her shift at the Marrow House was scheduled for noon, but she had no intention of going back. Not until her name was cleared. Not until anyone said she was more than just the help. Elijah texted her. "Elijah, you okay, Mom? I saw the article. People at school are talking." She swallowed hard. He was only 13, still too young to carry the weight of her war. But he was smart. He saw everything. She couldn't hide this. "Maya, I'm okay. We'll talk when you get home. Remember, always hold your head up." Across the street, a news van pulled up outside the restaurant. A young woman in a red blazer stepped out. Adjusting her mic, Maya recognized her. Jessica Templeton, local reporter for Channel 9. She watched as Jessica glanced up at the restaurant sign, then toward the front door, hesitating. Maya knew that look. It was the look of someone about to walk into a story bigger than they thought. Inside the restaurant, Gregory Langston sat at the corner booth with his lawyer and PR manager. The room had been emptied of customers. An emergency maintenance day, they called it. Rick Chandler, the manager, stood near the bar, arms folded, face tight. "She's lying," Gregory growled. "She had that footage edited. That truffle bag could have belonged to anyone." His lawyer, a narrow-faced man in a charcoal suit, didn't respond right away. He tapped his pen slowly against a legal pad. "The footage is clean, Mr. Langston. The timestamps match inventory records. No edits, no gaps. She didn't steal those truffles. You did." Langston's face went red. "So, what now? You think I should apologize to her? Pay her off?" "No," the lawyer replied calmly. "You need to settle quietly before the press gets hungrier." Rick shifted uncomfortably. "I told you we shouldn't have involved her in that dinner service. She was already asking questions about the payroll. Then you should have fired her months ago." Langston snapped. Rick didn't answer. He looked toward the kitchen where memories of Ma's gaze, calm, firm, unflinching, still haunted the stainless steel. Back at the bus stop, Maya stood. Her coffee was cold. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with purpose. She'd waited all her life to speak truth. She wasn't going to let power silence her again. She headed downtown toward the office of the Savannah Equal Rights Coalition. The director, Loretta Jacobs, was an older black woman known for her blunt honesty and sharp legal mind. They'd met briefly years ago at a community food drive, but today was different. "Miss William," Loretta said, rising from her desk. "You've stirred a hornet's nest." "I didn't mean to stir anything," Maya said quietly. "I just want justice." Loretta studied her a moment, then gestured to a seat. "Good, because this case, it's not just about you. It's about every woman who's ever been called girl in her own workplace. Every line cook who got fired for asking why her paycheck was short. Every boozer who got touched and told to smile." Mia nodded. "Then let's make it count." By mid-afternoon, Maya's name was trending locally. The video had gone viral not just in Savannah, but across regional news platforms. Civil rights groups began contacting her lawyer. A petition demanding Langston's removal from the board of Ward Hospitality Group had already surpassed 10,000 signatures. Still, she knew the storm would come with thunder. At home that evening, she fried catfish for Elijah and added too much cayenne, distracted. He didn't complain. They ate in quiet, the television murmuring in the background. Are you scared? He asked finally, his fork paused midair. Maya looked at him. Yeah, she admitted a little. But sometimes being brave means doing the right thing, even while you're shaking inside. Elijah nodded. I told Marcus at school that my mom doesn't let rich men slap her. He said, you're a legend. Maya laughed, surprised. A legend, huh? He grinned. Yeah, like Harriet Tubman, but with hot sauce. She laughed again. Really laughed. And for a moment, the weight on her chest loosened. Later that night, as she folded laundry, her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. Hello, Maya William. Yes, this is Benjamin Ward, CEO of Ward Hospitality Group. I'd like to meet with you. She blinked. You know what happened? I do, he said. And I want to hear the rest from you. As she ended the call, Maya stood in the quiet of her living room, the hum of the ceiling fans spinning above her. Outside, thunder rolled low across the Georgia sky. Silence had failed her once. Now it was her voice the world had to hear. Maya stood at the edge of the Savannah River. The morning breeze lifting her curls as she stared out at the water, trying to steady her breath. Across from her, the old red brick building that housed the Ward Hospitality headquarters loomed quietly, its tall windows reflecting the early sun. This moment felt larger than her, but not too large for her to enter. She adjusted her blazer, borrowed from Loretta Jacobs. It was a size too tight across the shoulders, but gave her the presence of someone who didn't come to beg. Inside, the receptionist was polite, her eyes flickering briefly to the fading bruise on Mia's cheek. Mr. Ward will see you upstairs, conference room B. Mia climbed the stairs, heart thudding with each step. She didn't know what to expect. Apology, denial, a trap. The hallway was lined with framed photos of elegant restaurants. Team members smiling in crisp uniforms. None of them looked like her. The door to the conference room opened. Benjamin Ward was already seated. Tall, dark-skinned, mid-50s. He wore a simple navy suit with no tie. His eyes met hers with something between curiosity and gravity. Miss William, he said, rising and offering his hand. Thank you for coming. Maya shook his hand. Thank you for calling. They sat. The table between them was long, made of polished oak, but the space felt intimate. No assistants, no legal team, just the two of them. I've seen the footage, Ward began. And I've read your complaint. She nodded. He leaned forward. Before I say anything else, let me be clear. What Gregory Langston did, what he said, it was unacceptable and it does not reflect the values I built this company on. Maya didn't flinch, but he's still on your board and Rick Chandler's still managing that restaurant. I know, Ward said, and I've already put both under formal review, but I also know this isn't just about a slap or one night or one man. Maya took a breath. It's about a culture, a system that lets people like me serve quietly, disappear quietly, and never get heard. It's about the way some folks smile to your face and erase your name behind your back. Ward sat back, folding his hands. I was raised in New Orleans. My mother was a housekeeper for a hotel where the manager used to call her girl and leave nickels on her cleaning cart like tips. I never forgot that. Maya's eyes narrowed slightly. Then you know why I'm not just walking away? He nodded slowly. I do. That's why I asked to meet. I want to make this right. Not just for you, but for everyone who's been made to feel like they don't matter. He paused. I'm offering you a position, a new role we're creating. Director of Equity and Employee Advocacy. You'd work directly with me, investigate complaints, ensure fair treatment, speak truth to power. Maya blinked. The words sank in, heavy with possibility. She leaned back, considering. What would that look like? Ward smiled faintly. It would look like you walking into every kitchen, every dining room, every boardroom with the authority to demand change. No more silence, no more girl. Maya exhaled softly. I thought nothing could get better than this. Maya felt her city bridge itself in that moment. The dinner began. First course, collard green and smoked ham croquette on cornbread croutons. Second, truffle-hidden sweet potato bisque, a nod to what had nearly silenced her. By dessert, a Benny seed peach cobbler elicited applause from the tables. Speakers rose. Volunteers from the apprentices shared how the kitchen had trained them not just in cooking, but in dignity. A pastor spoke about hope served fresh. A teacher shared that students had started asking, "What does justice taste like?" The tone wasn't punctured. It was alive, less ceremony, more communion. Maya took the microphone last. Her voice found quiet corridors in the hall's oak-beamed ceiling. When we started this journey, I wished for bread at our table. But today, I see it's bigger. Justice is not just bread. It's the recipe who's invited to bake, who's allowed to sit, and who gets to carry the spoon forward. Soft murmurs rose from the tables, she continued. This community table was empty for too long. Tonight, we filled every seat. Not with power, but with purpose. The applause that followed felt like rain after drought. Later, in the kitchen, Maya and Jasmine rinsed dishes side by side, steam rising between them. We did it, Jasmine said quietly. We did, Maya agreed. Because someone said truth isn't served, it's earned. Jasmine nodded, wiping a drop of water from her apron with care. That night, Maya returned home under a hush of magnolia and moonlight. Elijah opened the door, rubbing his eyes. "Mom," he asked softly. "Was it good?" She knelt and hugged him. "Better than I hoped." He slept shortly after. Exhausted by wonder, Maya went to the porch and opened her notebook, the one whose spine already carried 14 days prior. Tonight marked day 16, the harvest after a season of sowing. She wrote, Day 16. Our table holds justice in every dish, every seat, every voice. We are not the distant echoes of change. We are the living harvest. She set the pen down and placed the notebook beside a vase of freshly cut jasmine. A hush settled across the street, oak limbs heavy with blossoms, bricks warm beneath lamplight light, whispers of wind full of memory, reclaiming tomorrow. On the last page, she paused and added one more word. Centered belong. She closed the book gently. Savannah's oak shadows draped across the stoop as she rose and walked inside. Justice had not only arrived. It had taken root and bore fruit rich enough to feed a city anew. And in the quiet that followed, Maya William knew the harvest was only beginning. The faint glow of sunrise sifted through the bedroom curtains. Maya sat on the edge of the bed, tracing the weathered line of her notebook with her fingertip. She turned to the page where she had written belong in bold confident script. That single word had become a beacon these 16 days. She closed the notebook and stood, stretching tired muscles bound by purpose, not fatigue. Downstairs, the kitchen light was on. Elijah was already at the counter, elbows propped on a plate of scrambled eggs. He yawned and offered them to her. You hungry? Swing, she replied, kissing the top of his head. They ate together in a hush of contentment, a quiet before the day's crescendo. This was the morning of the launch for Savannah's new Shared Plate Fellowship, a network of apprentices, restaurant workers, community chefs, and elders designed by Maya and the advisory board. It would be funded by a combination of philanthropic partners and the newly instituted Community Equity Fund from Ward Hospitality. The goal was audacious. Bring community leaders into restaurant kitchens for 6-week residencies, build cross-sector mentorships, and expand scholarship access for culinary training. At the museum's courtyard, beneath the ancient wisteria, tables were being set. Blue and white linens carried the crest of Savannah's seal. A low hum of anticipation floated through the air as chefs from different neighborhoods brought dishes. Fresh gumbo from the west side, rice bowls from east side food trucks, heirloom corn salad from coastal gardens, and Benny seed sweet rolls from the apprentices. Mayor Robinson arrived first, walking slowly among the tables, greeting workers as equals. He paused at Maya and offered his hand. This table, this fellowship will change Savannah's future, he said. Because you've shown us how to build it with truth. She nodded, absorbing the weight of his endorsement. Across the courtyard, community elders gathered in a circle around the lunch counter exhibit. They shared stories quietly how Plaza Market once stood segregated. How their mothers served lunch to tourists while theirs waited outside. Their voices were low but clear, threaded with pride, memory, and relief that the next generation took their work seriously. Maya took the podium. Elijah sat nearby, fiddle in case a melody felt right. She looked out at the assembled apprentices from the program. Parents, civil rights veterans in crisp coats. City officials, restaurant folk, and journalists leaned in with pens and phones. She felt the pulse of a city turning toward new promise. Roots must feed the future, she began. Soft but unwavering. We planted tables of justice. Now with this fellowship, we plant tables of legacy. Tables where kitchens open their doors, not as stages of service, but as seats of power. Her voice rose, carrying toward the evening sky. She invited apprentices to speak. One young man, Terrence, described how he had taken the ethics training to his grandmother's church kitchen, asking what dignity meant in her cooking. She hugged me, he said, voice wobbly, and told me we're healing what decades tried to break. As he stepped down, Elijah stood, his bow lifted over the fiddle, playing a slow, tender melody, a song of remembrance and renewal. The crowd fell quiet. The notes folded around broken histories and hopeful tomorrows. After his song, applause rippled outward like waves echoing under oaks. Maya returned to the microphone. This fellowship's not a promise to keep us safe, she said. It's a promise to keep us honest, to keep us hungry for justice served with respect and cooked with love, to keep Savannah's table open so no one ever feels invisible again. Culinary instructors and community leaders crossed the courtyard line to embrace apprentices. Maya smiled as she watched chefs from Northside and Eastside kitchens swap recipes, phone numbers, plans. Later, back home, she sank into the porch swing. The night air throbbed soft with crickets. Lantern lights hung above. She opened her notebook under the glow, tracing the ink of 15 previous entries, then wrote, Day 17. The fellowship is harvest turned promise. Our table stands not for us alone, but for Savannah's future, and every seat is waiting. She closed the book and held it to her chest. Savannah breathed around her an old city, navigating new chapters beneath its Spanish moss and brick lane maps. And in that gently pulsing hush, Maya William knew the fight had become her gift, and now it was time to share it fully. Her work wasn't done. It had only begun its most lasting flavor. She stepped inside and let the door close softly behind her. The echo, a gentle seal on Savannah's table, open, grounded, and generous, and the real feast was just beginning. Dawn rose over Savannah like a benediction. Soft gold seeping through oak canopies and casting shadows across the bricks of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. The city stirred quietly, carrying the scent of moss, jasmine, and promise. Maya walked toward the Ralph Mark Gilbert Civil Rights Museum once more, not as a speaker, but as a witness to the change she helped ignite. Inside, light bounced off polished counters and old photographs, sit-ins, marches, voter drives. Each image held its breath, waiting for a story that arrived on its doorstep. Today, Maya was delivering something new, a plaque into the museum's founders' circle. Its inscription read, For those who plant tables and build them with justice, Maya William, 2025. She placed it beneath the photograph of W. Law and the 1963 desegregation march. The curator watched, eyes bright. Historic, the curator said softly. Now it belongs here and to you. Maya exhaled steady. As she turned from the wall, she saw faces, apprentices, elders, city leaders, reporters all gathered. Elijah stood beside her, violin in hand, wearing a gentle grin. Maya knelt to embrace him before she spoke. Today, she began, we close one circle and begin another. The table we built came from pain, but it's sustained by love and integrity. She paused. This plaque, she gestured, isn't just recognition. It's inheritance. I pass it to you, all of you, so Savannah knows justice is not an anniversary. It's a legacy. The applause came like slow rainfall, gentle gathering force. At midday, Maya and Elijah headed across town to the Marrow House. The restaurant buzzed with quiet energy, not drama, but purpose. In the renovated dining area, a micro-museum now displayed artifacts: the soiled tablecloth from the night of the slap, the first notebook where Maya wrote, "What silence costs." A framed message from Elijah reading, "Mama is my hero." Guests gathered. City educators, members of the ethics board, apprentices, and reporters waiting for a featured segment. Maya guided them slowly through, telling stories overwrite after overwrite of what each object meant, how they transformed from proof of pain to markers of progress. When she reached the final display, she gestured to the notebook entry from day 16. "Our table holds justice in every dish, every seat, every voice." She looked at the group. "That's not just my line. It's our mission. We're culinary storytellers now. Our flavor is equity. Our recipe is integrity, and our tables are invitations not just to eat, but to belong." The audience nodded. Some faces were moist. That evening, Maya and the apprentices, now graduates, hosted on the restaurant's roof deck a dinner for city families. Lanterns glowed through magnolia. Plates passed. Laughter wove through the air. Children raced between tables. The city lights glimmered like fireflies beneath them. Maya watched a group of teenagers taste their Benny seed rolls for the first time. A grandmother wept at the pecan-crusted catfish that revived Sunday memories. A young line cook, once silent under Rick Chandler's glare, stood at the grill proud and free. Elijah walked over, violin resting at his side. "Mama," he said softly, "can I play again tonight?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. He stepped onto a small platform in the center of the tables and played a gentle, slow arrangement that echoed years of longing. The melody rose, weaving through laughter and conversation through oak branches overhead. It held the city's wounds and its healing in balanced notes. When he finished, Maya stood with her voice low but sure. She said, "This table is our home, our call to justice passed to our children, rooted in our ancestors. Let it always taste like love and carry the warmth of possibility." Glasses raised, applause rippled. Elijah, shy and fierce, looked at his mother. She smiled, feeling the deep calm of a harvest ready to be harvested. Trust, justice, connection. Later that night, under a silver moon, Maya opened her notebook at the kitchen table and paused through the days she'd written the 16 entries before. She turned to a blank page, starched clean under the lamp's glow. She penned the final line. Day 18. I stood where they once knelt. Now I pass the table built with truth into their hands. The flame is theirs. She closed the book slowly. Outside Savannah slept oak limbs swayed. Street lights whispered. The riverside passed moss and miracle bricks. The city held itself in a quiet circle of memory and renewal. Maya stood on the porch, breathing the night. In her hands rested the notebook, the record of a city that learned how to hold truth in its hands. In her heart pulsed a future that could taste justice not as ideal, but as daily fare in Savannah in its roots, in its tables, in the echo of Elijah's final notes claimed its inheritance with grace. Her fight had become its legacy. The story of Maya Williams teaches us that true justice is not granted. It is earned through courage, dignity, and unwavering belief in one's worth. It reminds us that silence in the face of injustice only empowers cruelty. But a single voice when rooted in truth can awaken a community, rebuild broken systems, and leave behind a legacy of hope and belonging.